Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Legend of Korra episode review. This one's going to be my review for K412, Day of the Colossus, and K413, The Last Stand. I thought I was initially going to do two videos, but I really didn't think about what my mindset would be like actually going into two separate videos, so I'm kind of at the stage where I can't really separate the two episodes just yet. So everything's just blending together. Like the first thing I kind of want to talk about is like the last scene. So um, I don't think there was any way I'd be able to just go, okay, so the first episode starts with the um, aftermath of episode 11. There was no way I was going to be able to do that right now. Just like an hour or so removed from actually watching the finale. But anyway, overall, my thoughts on the book 4 finale, the Korra Series Finale, these two episodes. I was pretty pleased. I really did enjoy both episodes. It was a really good way, I felt, to end the series. Wasn't perfect, and I'm not really sure how to compare it to the other ones right now. Obviously because it's just ended like an hour ago. But I thought it was really good. Like, I was happy with how this show ended. Like, I wasn't disappointed with how the show ended. There are things, just like Avatar The Last Airbender, there are things that I maybe felt should have been touched on that weren't, but maybe comics, if we ever get core comics down the line, can touch on them. But overall, it had the key character moments that were necessary. It had emotional moments, dramatic moments, great action, and brought the series to a good conclusion. I don't think it's really possible to really kind of like make an argument for the fact that this is a bad finale, a bad way to end the show. This was good. So there's that. So yeah, let me get into some more specifics, and I apologize straight away. I am not going to be able to touch on absolutely everything that there is to touch on in this episode. As I said, I literally just finished watching both episodes. Everything's blending together for me. There was a lot of big moments that happened. So I'm going to start at the end, because it's the thing everyone's talking about. And in many ways, it kind of shows potentially the issue with it. And that is the fact that the final scene of The Legend of Korra as a TV show is confirming Korra and Asami as a couple. That's the only way to interpret this. The only thing that could have made it clear was them saying I love you or a kiss. You had everything but that. Korra Asami is 100% canon. That's it. And that's cool. I completely support the idea of completely support the idea of lesbian slash bisexual representation in Avatar slash Korra. It's really cool that this is happening. The problem is that Korra Asami has not had like good setup in terms of a romantic sense. Yeah, you can argue like scenes here and there, did it, the blush or whatever and stuff like that. But realistically, them as a couple, like them interacting and suggesting a romantic relationship, has not been hinted at in the whole series really. And I found it really difficult to argue that it has been. Yes, there are little moments you can now interpret that way, but this is not Katara and Aang's setup, where that works as a final thing because there has been so much setup before and stuff like that. It makes sense that that's when the relationship finally happens. It's a really nice, happy way to end the series. This time around, it's more of a kind of like shock, like, oh, did this happen thing, than like a, oh wow, this series has just come to an end, it's so emotional. Korra has had such an amazing journey, it's been such a great show. Instead, you're just kind of left thinking like, at the end of the show, like, gay canon couple, really, instead of like, the show came to an end really well. And, as I said, I'm fine with it happening, but I personally, find it like right now very difficult to be like, okay, like, what is their relationship like? Just because we've only really seen them as friends, like we don't know what they're like as a couple, so it's difficult to really kind of, for me, fully like invest and make it so that this is a scene that is worth ending the show on. To me, this scene it doesn't work as an ending scene for Korra overall. Maybe if this was like another season finale and you did that as the final shot, yes, but not as the ending to the entire series. And if this was like, say they went another way with it and they did Mako and Korra, it still wouldn't work as an ending because the romance hasn't, especially mainly between the main characters, hasn't been done that effectively. So it's not even the case of like, I'm saying this just because it's, the kind of shock lesbian bisexual couple. Not at all. It's just that, like, logically, facts, this came a little bit out of nowhere, and doesn't have the setup, I think, worthy of the kind of placement of the scene that they gave it. To me, the way to end Korra is a scene of just kind of her on her own, doing something, just showing like how much she has changed. They kind of did that with Tenzin, but the final shot is important in a series, and I just wasn't particularly happy with this as the final shot. I'm happy that this happened, and I'm now really excited to actually see what Korra and Asami are like as a couple, if we get that was explored in like Korra comics and stuff like that. But final shot, I wasn't particularly like blown out of the way with it, beyond just like, oh, that's how they ended the show. That's interesting. Um, so there's that. And because it didn't have the setup of their relationship, it wasn't a thing where I was just like a lot of maybe Korra Sammy shippers have kind of done already with like headcanons and stuff like that. I wasn't like, yes, the ship has finally happened. I was just kind of like, okay, they're together now. I'm interested to see where this goes. And that doesn't work as the final shot of a final season. That to me is like setup going forward. So, as I said, I'm excited to see where that goes, and I'm kind of like, okay, I ship Korra Sammy now, but you know, really took away, I think, what could have been a potentially really good final shot of the show. But overall, it works. Other than that, there's still a lot of other stuff to talk about. Let's just talk about, I suppose, how Kuvira kind of met her end. The Colossus, first of all, the way it was taken down. Hiroshi kind of comes back. Elaine frees him from prison. Thinks that the best idea is to have all the geniuses working on this, and together they come up with the idea. They're going to use the plasma welder that they used to cut platinum in the first place, attach it onto the prototype dragon hummingbird things, fly them out, and kind of get them to the inside of the Colossus and take it down that way. And it was cool. They went the socket idea. They did the socket idea on it, and I completely called this, I have to say. There was two dragonfly hummingbird things. It was Asami and Hiroshi and Varric and Julie. They were the two kind of teams in each. So I completely called that. And while maybe they didn't do what I maybe expected they would do, they'd have like some of the scenes where they talk about each other in those, where they have big moments with each other in there. They instead just had to be an action scene and had the dramatic moment happen from there. They set up the whole idea of an ejector seat with Varric and Julie going down. They both escape. They're separate ejector seats controlled by one person, the controller. And then you get the moments with Asami and Hiroshi where, it's a really big dramatic scene where, like, it's not that they can't damage this thing. They can get in a certain amount of damage, but not quite enough to fully damage it because Kuvira is in control. She's constantly swatting people out of the way, and the dragon hummingbird things just can't land long enough to actually get in. So you get this really dramatic moment, and you can see it coming a mile off. And it's not that it's a bad thing at all. It works because you know exactly what's going to happen, but Asami doesn't, and it's a super emotional moment when, the cutting's nearly done. He's trying his best to do it. Asami makes the call like, we have to get out of here now. And he knows that he kind of has to make amends for what he's done, and so he stays. He kind of sets off Asami's ejector seat, saving her. And that final moment gives him the chance to cut through the platinum and give them an in into the machine. And it was a really powerful moment. That plus, the little bonding moment of Asami and Hiroshi before just worked so well to for me complete Asami's arc over the whole series, that being her issue with her father, which was obviously the big thing in book one, and now it's kind of resolved in book four that she had forgiven him before the end. They had had that moment, so that worked for me in that Asami definitely hasn't been the biggest player in the whole series, but I felt she does right now have a solid kind of character arc over the course of the whole books, even though maybe she didn't have a massive character arc herself in book two or three. It's worked out pretty well, and you had the moment at the end, obviously, where Korra and Asami were talking, and she kind of says that like, I couldn't deal with like potentially using you and my father on the same day, but it was nice to know I was able to forgive him before the end. And so that was a really strong moment. That was our kind of big character death in the finale, so that worked. Um, Other than that, lots of other stuff to talk about, but everything's just molding together for me. Um, what else? I suppose Julie and Varric. I think that was really well done. That was probably one of the better done romance plots over the course of the whole series. The way this was done, it was just worked so well that just before they were about to go out, Varric just proposes to her, and it was brilliant. Getting that her full name is like Julie Moon and stuff like that. It just completely worked. I don't really have a massive amount to say about it right now because again, I can't remember the scene exactly, but it it just worked that you got the sense that these two characters have known each other for such a long time, and they know each other really well, but it's always kind of been in a kind of business sense, but she's always kind of known that she kind of loves him and stuff like that, but he kind of hasn't been able to see it until this final moment where they know that they're potentially going to their death, and obviously proposes to her and stuff like that. And they have the whole joke about I want to attach something on at the end, and it's the ring and stuff like that. It completely worked, and then how the epilogue effectively is the wedding of the two, and you have Bolin presiding over it and stuff like that. It was well done that you got that kind of wedding. I think like first wedding. Well, yeah, basically the first wedding we've seen in the Avatar universe, basically. So that was. Oh no, wait, we haven't. We saw Roku's wedding, and I think Sozin's we also saw. But yeah, this was like the first, I suppose, full wedding that wasn't just like a flashback that we saw. That was very nice to see. But yeah. What else? I suppose Mako Bolin. They both kind of had. I suppose they each had their big moment. Mako probably had a bigger one than Bolin this time around, but given how like Bolin has had huge moments, like the past two books, like book two and three, he's had like really strong moments, and he's been a much bigger player this book than Mako has been overall. So it kind of evened itself out that Mako got the like really strong moment this time around. But just see Bolin, with the lava fighting the Colossus on the ground, and then he and Mako go in when they finally get the thing open, and they have to kind of take out the power unit, and Mako decides that he's going to stay. Like he's the one who has the power to overload this machine with his lightning bending. And they just have this moment where basically like kind of Bolin kind of calls out the usual kind of cliche type thing, like I'm going to stay behind and kind of like sacrifice myself to take it out. But Bolin kind of calls him out on this, like you don't need to prove that you're that awesome. I already know that you're awesome. But that's not what Mako's trying to do here. He knows that, while it might come across to other people as an awesome moment, it's something that has to be done. Like other people will die if I don't do this. I'm willing to do this because of what everyone else is doing, and so Bolin lets his brother do this. But the key thing is he doesn't just leave, he kind of stays behind just in case something goes wrong. So it kind of worked for the two of them that this was their big moment that they had together. Like they've been a little bit at odds, earlier on in this book, and it's just this cool moment where they come together. Even when Mako tells Bolin to get out, like I'll do this, Bolin does come back and save him in the end. But the big moment of Mako doing the full kind of slow, powerful lightning generation technique. Like, not just the kind of like, a really quick one that usually just kind of jolts someone. This was the full on, technique, separate everything, bring it together, the way Iroh explained lightning generation, basically. And you could really sense that this was powerful lightning bending, because he was, it was weird the way it was kind of shot, and that you almost got the sense he was kind of challenge, he was generating his own lightning, but also channeling energy from the machine kind of into the kind of giant spirit vine that was powering the whole thing. And it worked because he was just, there was so much power kind of flowing through him that like his arm was getting burnt, and eventually he gets kind of zapped by some output from the machine. He's nearly knocked unconscious, and then Bolin saves him. It just worked so well, because the way it was shot, I was completely convinced Mako was going to die, and I was just like, no, you can't do this. You just can't do this, because I was just kind of like, oh, I'm going to be so annoyed if they kill Mako here, because I just feel like they've done Mako over the course of the whole books. They haven't really done that much of a service, really. They've really just, the writing hasn't really helped his character at all, and so it worked that they kept him alive and stuff like that. It really did. And then he and Korra have the final moment. It's just kind of like Korra tease just before they confirm Korra Sami. It was a little bit weird, but I suppose the idea was just that, okay, they're done, but they're still really close friends. That Mako's willing to do anything to help Korra whenever she needs it, pretty much. That's how devoted of a friend he is. That's the idea they were going for, I think. With Bolin, I was actually pretty disappointed that they didn't have a final scene between him and Opal, just to... For me, what I needed with this was that Opal says I love you back to Bolin, just because he had said it earlier on, and then basically the resolution there was just that, okay, you're out of the polar bear doghouse, I don't hate you anymore. I wanted, I would have liked the kind of line returned, and at least show that, maybe that's the next wedding, or something like that. Like, I maybe would have liked something like that with one of the other romances, like Julie throws the bouquet and like someone else catches it or something like that. Like Opal catches it and then like she blushes and like Bolin looks at her or something like that. I kind of would have maybe liked something like that, just to have a final scene with their relationship, because otherwise, Opal, she got knocked out. You had that moment where Bolin kind of, I think, took her off the streets before she was kind of like crushed, but you didn't really get that last moment with their romance. One of my other disappointments was, I suppose, Jinora. I was just disappointed that in book 4, the book where she is a master airbender, she didn't really get to do anything massively of note. And the few times that she's potentially had a chance to do something, she's been like captured or like nearly killed. Like, she's been made out to be the kind of weaker one. So I just wasn't quite happy with the kind of power level that they gave Jinora in the finale, because obviously earlier on in the book, you had her encounter the spirit vines, they attacked her and she was captured. Like, she didn't really put up that much of a fight even. And then here, one of the only airbenders to nearly get killed is Jinora, only saved by Tenzin. Like, you maybe like switch it around, like have that nearly be Iki, Tenzin saves Iki or something like that, and Jinora catches Iki or something like that. Because even Milo got a big moment in the finale. He came up with the idea to blind the windows of the Colossus and use the time from there to kind of take it out. And then he had the other moment later on where he just kind of flew onto the window and just gave this creepy look towards Kuvira, and she's just like, well, she doesn't like really react to it at all. She's just like angry and annoyed, but like it was perfect Milo moment where he's just like, hi. It was really weird, but it worked. What else? I suppose another thing we got was that the army, like Kuvira's army itself, wasn't really a factor in the whole thing. They took that out very quickly with the EMP, and I suppose they took out the Republic City army with the fact that the surrender had happened in the earlier episodes. They definitely made the main battle focus around the main characters. That was something that they did that I suppose worked out well. That they didn't try to have this massive battle going on while just cutting back and forth between like key moments with the main characters. They just focused on the main characters doing what they wanted to do. So that kind of worked out well in the finale in terms of like pacing. That you didn't have to always, okay, how's the main battle going between these two armies and stuff like that. That it was just the key thing is the Colossus. It's basically the Colossus, which is nigh unstoppable, taking on our heroes, and that worked as the final battle. Um, what else? Wu, and I suppose Pema, I suppose, is involved here as well. That added some nice humor. That added necessary humor to the finale. That um, they were never a group that were in like incredible danger. Like they were never going to get killed, but they had a little bit of a threat that you could play with a bit, and just kind of like the Sokka moment in the finale, dumping everyone out, and the whole birthday line in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Wu kind of got that moment here with obviously his singing. He really showed that he's a good leader as well, which I think really worked out. That he and Pema just kind of helped to keep people at ease, and even though they were getting angry towards the end, he did eventually have the solution to take everyone out of the city underground with badger moles that they got from the zoo. And do you know what I really liked about this was that Prince Wu kind of showed that while Queen Hu Ting, his I'm completely forgetting the relationship here because it's not like an obvious one. It's not like she's his grandmother or something like that. She's his like great aunt or something like that. But anyway, they're related. That the whole family's related. So Hu Ting hates animals. Kuei had a big connection to his bear Bosco, and now you have this other relation who has this kind of great power with badger moles, and it was a really cool moment to actually have them involved. It was that really cool, just kind of like ancient moment, I suppose, of the whole finale. Really, just in that like you had the original Airbenders come in, and they're the only people on screen basically who enjoy his singing, and they work with him, and you have that moment where like the some of the soldiers arrive down, they're about to capture everyone, and Wu comes over and just starts singing this song, and they're like, "What are you doing? Your badge have left because you're singing so bad." And then they just take them out. It worked. It was really nice to see that. Because we've basically seen like all of those animals. Like we've had sky bison the whole book. We've had dragons before. Not this book. Last book was. Did we see Druk this book? I don't think we did. But now we saw some badger moles in Korra, which was nice. And yeah, that just worked. And then Wu's big moment at the end is that they're all like, "Hey, you're really going to make a good king now." But then he says that, "No, I'm actually going to step down and let the various states of the Earth Kingdom govern themselves." And stuff like that. So that was interesting, and I think they basically said he was going to have like a singing career or something like that. I suppose they didn't really make it that clear what Wu himself was going to do, but I suppose it just the idea that he realizes that he would potentially make a good ruler, but not right now. Maybe maybe we'll see him as the head of like one state. Maybe we'll see him as the head of Bossing Say alone or something like that. That would be an interesting thing for him at some point, like. Because the singing career isn't going to work unless it's music for badger moles. But yeah, that was good to see. What else is there to talk about? So much happening. Sue, the Beifong family, they were involved. Eventually it was Sue and Lin who took out the spirit weapon and led to some really cool moments, like a cover ripping off the arm, and they were in it, and you thought they were nearly killed, but they saved themselves with some creating some like metal seatbelts almost. That was a cool moment. Just that they took the spirit weapon out of play. That was a big moment for them. Wei and Wing were involved in the fight. That was good. And then with Batar Junior, I actually kind of liked that there was no delusion about like there's no way she actually meant to kill me. That he just straight away knew that like she may have cared a little bit about him, but it really wasn't anything like that. There was no real connection on her side, I suppose, was the main thing there. That he put everything into the relationship with her, and she just didn't care in the end. That was that was interesting. Just see him kind of lying there injured and his kind of just being nice to his mother, I suppose, for the first time in a while, and she doesn't attempt to really like be angry at him. She's just like, I, I understand what you're going through right now. Like you're being completely betrayed, and he eventually tries to help them, but he just kind of like there's really no way to stop it. So that was interesting. But yeah, I suppose that one of the final things to talk about is the big battle. We eventually, everyone breaks in. Korra versus Kuvira in the control room of the Colossus. It was a really cool idea because you were actually wondering, like, okay, is the Colossus going to get taken down and then Korra and Kuvira fight just on the streets? But no, they actually just had the fight take place in the Colossus as the Colossus is being taken down. So it was really cool in that, like, you weren't cutting away to some other side of the city most of the time. You were just cutting down into the kind of stomach area of the Colossus. So that was cool, and the fight was even. Like, it was nice to see that Korra. The Avatar state wasn't really used that much. Maybe that's actually a slight negative, just that the Avatar state wasn't that useful and she didn't really use it all that much. But I suppose the idea was that at this point in time, she knew she could take on Kuvira evenly, and the fight worked. It was really good. You can tell that they really put a lot of effort into the animation on this fight, really choreographing everything perfectly. Like, you know that there's good choreography on a fight when they add in a few MMA moves and stuff like that into it. So I think there was that moment where Korra kind of like jumps onto Kuvira and gets her in this kind of like flying armbar position, but then kind of like flips her backwards. It was a really cool move, and just like you can tell that the animators are really into a fight when they start incorporating stuff like that into it. It's not just all bending. There's a little bit of like grappling in there as well, so that was nice. And just overall, it was this close quarters fight. They were both getting hits in on each other, and it eventually just came down to the fight goes out of out of the Colossus. Kuvira kind of, you think it's gonna like end like halfway through the episode when like, obviously the big explosion happens. They're both there. Korra is kind of more conscious than Kuvira, and Korra's just like, give up. It's over. She gets hit in the head with a rock, which gives Kuvira time to escape into the spirit wilds. And this is when I thought they were going to have Kuvira kind of meet her end by loads of spirits just appearing in the spirit wilds and like dragging her into the spirit world and give her a kind of Zhao type ending because she's been abusing spirit powers and stuff like that. But no, she goes in there because that's where the spirit weapon went. That it's still got one spirit spirit vine canister loaded into it, and she just activates the weapon by hand. Kind of point blank fires it at Korra. Korra dodges, but because it's in the spirit wilds, the weapon just connects to all of the spirit vines there and just goes crazy, just never ending beam, just shooting everywhere, destroying everything. Eventually targeting Kuvira, Korra steps in front, and you get probably the big hero moment of the episode where Korra blocks this. I definitely need to see it again to see exactly what she does to block it and how exactly this works. Like, does she use bending to block it, or does she kind of use a kind of spirit bend it in some way? But either way, it was a cool. She used the Avatar state. It was a cool moment either way, and for whatever reason, this formed another spirit portal, but it's a different one than the others because it's got like two different colors of kind of spiraling energy. Maybe I suppose the idea that they're going for is that like the north and south spirit portals are kind of like literally spirit portals. Like the humans really don't have much of an involvement in them. But this one is a spirit portal that's actually created by humans and kind of represents this bond between humans and spirits. And it's a cool moment because it completely again changed Republic City, even more so than maybe Book 2, when the portals are left open and people can go to Republic City. Republic City's got spirit vines because that's where the final battle took place, but now it has a spirit portal in it. And literally that means spirits can come to this place that has spirit wilds straight away. So that was a cool reveal. I definitely don't think anyone predicted another spirit portal. but it worked. Other thing, I suppose that leads into a slight other negative. I was really disappointed that the spirits weren't involved in the conclusion of the battle. And I was actually a little bit annoyed when the spirit portal's there and spirits just start coming out and like nothing's happened. Like, battle's over, Korra saved the day, we're back. Now that everything's over, like it really didn't do a good job of making the spirits likable. And the fact that they didn't like, there was nothing said about the spirits, just that Korra saved the day without the spirits. It really made it seem like what they were going for in episode 10, I think it was, when Korra goes into the spirit world, obviously, to talk to the spirits to try and get them to help. Are they trying to really suggest that the way to interpret that scene is that Korra was actually wrong to ask them for help? Because I think that's completely wrong if that's the case, if that's what they were going for. It really, for me, leaves the spirits feeling this whole unresolved thing that Korra's done all of this stuff, created a spirit portal in the city, but ultimately there's still this massive issue between humans and spirits that the spirits just want to live in the human world but won't help with any of the drama that happens there, even if it's like caused by them. Like, it really makes the spirits come across as dislikable. So hopefully that's addressed at some point in the future, whether that be a new series at some point in a couple of years from now, or comics, because to me that's a big issue. But yeah, the ultimate resolution of the Korra Kuvira thing, that was very interesting. They're both in the spirit world, because obviously Korra saves them. They both end up in the spirit world because the spirit portal basically forms around them, bringing them to the spirit world. And it worked, I suppose, having Kuvira be there, because it kind of showed her that she was trying to harness the power of something that she really didn't understand. Almost this idea that she didn't understand the power of spirits, and just being in the spirit world, and the fact that Korra is so at peace in this world, and Korra had done this thing that like she could literally stop a blast from her ultimate weapon while creating a spirit portal and saving the boat in the spirit world, that proved to her that Kuvira could never ever match the power of the Avatar. And in many ways that's the biggest compliment of all, Korra saying that Korra is more powerful than anyone she's ever met in her life. That's a really strong moment. But I like that they just have a conversation in here, that what it's ultimately about is that Kuvira was abandoned by her parents, and the reason she's wanted to control a whole nation of herself is so she could control a whole nation and never have that happen to anyone again, so no one else would ever really feel abandoned. Again, I'm not really remembering the full scene exactly, but that's the kind of gist of what they were going for here. That they explain Kuvira's goals more than just Sue didn't want to do this. Kuvira saw Sue refusing to be a dictator as Sue abandoning the Earth Kingdom. She saw Korra being away for 2 years as her abandoning the world, when in fact Korra explains that that was like the worst time of my life. I felt abandoned like myself basically when I was poisoned, and Kuvira kind of understands at that moment, I think, just that she never really had a reason to be angry at Korra, because Korra didn't just leave the world on her own and just not do anything. That Korra was suffering, like truly suffering, that's the idea, that time, and she understands that Kuvira had gone through some of that too, so it worked. Again, need to watch that scene again to like fully get all the layers that were in that scene. It was a really good moment, great voice acting from Zelda Williams for Kuvira and Janet Varney for Korra. Really well done. What else? I suppose just some of the epilogue stuff again, I'll bring that back up. I suppose the main ones that I haven't really touched on that much is the kind of Korra Tenzin scene. That was interesting because this was kind of like, we kind of get one of these a book where Korra and Tenzin just have this kind of mentor-student scenes every episode. And here, it was just this moment of like Tenzin happy to see Korra having hope again, and kind of Korra just realizing that what she learned in all of this time was that she kind of needed to She needed to experience true suffering to connect further with people, to be more compassionate to people, to help her understand everyone, all of the villains she's fought, including Kuvira at this point in time. And that's kind of helped her become a better avatar. And that's interesting because for me, that's not like Korra's final lesson in the whole series. That's the book 4 lesson for Korra. And just everything together, her whole journey of the whole all 4 books has been the kind of journey of Korra, and that's, she's the avatar. Hens basically says it, that you changed the world and like accomplished more in just a few years than like almost any avatar ever. So basically, the legend of Korra is that she managed to do so much in such a short amount of years. So that was very interesting. Also, Korra's kind of wedding outfit was actually really nice. So that's going to be interesting one to see, like cosplays and stuff like that. If anyone goes for that one, but that, definitely interesting design for that. I'm really eager to see the book 4 artbook now, just to see all that sort of stuff. See early design for like the Colossus and stuff like that. But yeah, I suppose that's my general thoughts on the episode. Sorry if you expected maybe more thoughts, but right now, like, that's all I really have until I watch the episode again. If you want more of my thoughts on the episode, podcasts are going to be tomorrow and on Sunday. Tomorrow we're going to review episode 12. Sunday we're going to review episode 13. And that's going to basically, we've done all our core roundtables. The podcast is not ending. I really want to announce that, make that very clear. The podcast is not going to end with the roundtable for episode 13. We've still got a lot of stuff to do, and not just related to, the aftermath of obviously the book 4 coming to an end. The podcast is continuing for the foreseeable future. Next Sunday, not obviously this Sunday, next Sunday, will be episode 100 of the Avatar Online podcast, and we're going to make a big announcement there about the future of the podcast. But I just want to announce here straight away, Avatar Online podcast is continuing. You're just going to see some changes with it. So we'll talk about that more in episode 100 in like a week and a few days. Still organising some final stuff with that, but there's that. You'll see the 2 podcasts there. So haven't heard back from everyone, but it's probably going to be myself, Troy, Greg, and Kelly on both podcasts. But again, don't know for sure if everyone's going to be on both. But either way, we'll be talking like this for the foreseeable future, definitely. Other thing to talk about, Book 4 Balance Awards. Made the video that I recorded yesterday live just a few minutes ago before recording this video. So if you go to that video to get full details on these things, but I'll just say it right now. Link is up on the site. The post is up. You can vote. Start voting now on the Book 4 Balance Awards. Just go to the link. It's avatarthelastairbender.online.com. It's the current first news post on the site. Go there. You don't have to be a member on the site to vote. And yeah, you've got 2 weeks. Deadline is January 2nd, obviously next year. 2 weeks to vote. And yeah, after that, podcast with the results will be on January 4th, which is obviously a Sunday when we usually record. But yeah, there's some of the more upcoming podcasts. But yeah, definitely vote on those Book 4 awards. But for now, yeah, that's been my final. I suppose this is my final time to really talk about a fresh episode of Korra. After this, I'm talking about a completed series. Like, it's already done right now, but until I finish this video, I still feel like Korra is still like incomplete almost. Like, I'm probably going to feel that way until we do that kind of final podcast in a few weeks where we go back and just review Book 4 overall. Like, I'm not going to feel like Korra is complete until I finish all of this coverage on it. But in terms of like video reviews, this is it. Yeah. I'm still going to be doing Avatar videos, obviously, going forward, because there's comic news, there's lots of discussion topics to go back and discuss with Korra. There's lots of videos to come. I still have other stuff like my episode commentaries for Book 3 and 4 to do, plus a lot of other stuff. I have more content coming, so don't think that just because Korra's over that my Avatar content on my channel is over, because it's not. Arguably, Korra being over gives me a chance to do more unique content, more discussion type stuff. So yeah, before I start rambling even longer, I'm just going to end it here. It's been really great journey reviewing all of these episodes. And yeah, thanks to everyone for watching all of these episode reviews that I've done. So yeah, that's been the final Korra the series episode review for the book 4/Korra Series Finale. Thanks for watching so much, and bye.